Hello and welcome back to another episode of Our Own Devices with Nandagopal Rajan. And as you guessed right, this is Nandagopal Rajan speaking again. This time, as we are used to, we have a wonderful guest who will tell us a lot about a lot of things, but primarily one thing that I think a lot of Indians are really intrigued by, curious about, which is about 5G. And we have just the right person to talk about it. And that is Dr. S.P. Kochhar, who is actually Lieutenant General who has retired from the army. He is the Cellular Operators Association of India's Director General. Now, this association looks after the interests of consumers as well as the companies that run your networks. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nandu.
Dr. Kochhar, one simple question to just set the premise: is India going to get 5G this year?
There is a doubt India will get 5G.
This
Everybody has
year?
been making an assertion. Yes, everyone has been making an assertion to that effect, and there is nothing which is detracting us from there. As things stand today, some sort of 5G rollout will happen.
So just last week, I could see one of the operators, which is Airtel, did like a demo for a lot of people. They wanted to showcase some of the capabilities that they have, but in a limited setting. When it comes to trials, do you think the companies have now tried out everything they have to? Is it in a go live kind of a situation if needed? If the government decides that it's the right time now?
Well, the trials have been going on for some time now, and a lot of ground has been covered. But like you are aware that there will never be an end to trials. If you extend the time by 2 years, trials can still continue because there are new use cases which keep coming up. But more or less, the question mark areas have been tried out, and I suppose people are ready. The companies are ready to go live with 5G, provided the rest of the ingredients are in place.
How do you see, I know it's a hypothetical question in a way, but how do you see this being rolled out? Is this going to be an urban environment first kind of a rollout? Do you think that there might be commercial use cases that will be rolled out first before it comes to maybe individual customers, because 5G has a very good layer of services which can be just for IoT kind of devices and other services, enabling other services. It doesn't have to be consumer only. So, how do you think this being rolled out in India?
5G by itself is a different technology, and 5G is, the main selling point of 5G is its versatility, the amount of capacity it has, low latency it has. But more than that, it is a flexibility and adaptability to business solutions. And in 5G era, we will be finding for the first time in the history of the world that sensors will be talking to humans, sensors will be talking to sensors, and therefore the ecosystem is going to grow humongously. Number of subscribers and the networks will be ready to accommodate all these numbers, right? So there will be a huge amount of data traffic which will be happening. As you would have made out from what I've said, the major clientele for this sort of thing will be enterprise businesses, uh, and there will be consumer clients too, but major clientele which will be differentiated from 4G era will be the enterprise customers. Now, that is what everyone in the world is hoping for. And as we go along, we are looking at use cases that will emerge. In India, fortunately, 5G and Industry 4.0 are generally going together, and they are going on parallel tracks. So as and when 4.0 keeps increasing its footprint, there will be more applications for 5G. But till the time that happens, 5G will obviously be more tilted toward consumer business, because enterprise business will come when industry is ready. You can't force that on people, right? The differentiator would be that here the businesses will come, the applications will come and tell the telcos, hey, I want this. It is your job not to please tailor your 5G network to give me this, not the other way around, where the telcos did factor in some amount of business cases when they rolled out 4G. but obviously they could not have thought like the businesses themselves. So the businesses got fettered to whatever was the offering of 4G. In 5G, it won't happen. 5G will be unfettered planning of businesses. Come back, tell us what you want, we will give it to you. And that is the way things will roll out. In urban area, it will be different. Rural area, it will be different. In campuses, the offerings will be different, but all will be given over the 5G cloud. So that is the way I see this happening. And obviously, what will happen in India is my visualization that non-standalone 5G will surface first, and then as the use cases emerge, the standalone 5G will come. But all this depends on certain factors, and one major important factor is the spectrum auction.
Yeah.
Now, till the time the spectrum doesn't reach the telcos at an appropriate price, it'd be difficult for them to even hazard a guess today whether they're going to be in penny pockets in urban areas or rural areas. It's difficult to say at this point of time. But because it will be non-standalone, which means it will be riding over 4G networks, interoperating with 4G also. So it will be, in a sense, not a very difficult decision to take once we know what are the prices of the spectrum and what is the availability of the spectrum.
Over the past few years, my conversations with a lot of the network providers, for instance, and the technology companies, I've got to know that, like, at least for some of them, switch over or switching over a part of the network to 5G is relatively easy because they have the hardware that is 5G compatible. Is that right? Or is it actually going to take a lot of work also on the ground?
Well, there will be work. May not be on the ground, maybe in the air, because the radios will have to be changed.
Yeah.
So the 5G radios will have to come in essentially, and then gradually over a period of time, the switches and the routers, which are software driven, will come in. Edge computing will come in, but this is a gradual process. If you want to get a flavor of 5G today, it is possible. All you have
Yeah.
to do is put a radio there on top of the 4G network. Possible to do it. It can be done even on the existing spectrum, and then you won't get the actual feel of what 5G is all about.
Over the years, over the past 2 3 years, 5G has rolled out in many countries around the world. So at times when you talk about first mover advantage, it's not really an advantage because you have to go through a lot of pain of setting up a new technology, understanding how it works. And as you rightly said, like, you don't even know the demand side of it, right? The demand side has to sort of modify itself to the new technology. So, is it actually a good thing that we are not really in that first wave of countries that had adopted 5G? Now we have a little bit of a better understanding of how this is going to roll out. And I have heard from a lot of people in the US and all, for instance, that even though 5G networks is here, like, a lot of network companies don't know really what to offer, right? Because from an experiential perspective, a lot of the experience doesn't change because in markets like the US and Taiwan and all, the already the networks are in such a good condition that you are not going to see a change in speed if you are a regular user. So how do you sell 5G as a top up, as a better technology when you really don't know? So do you think India is in a better position now because it understands the lay of the land from a technology perspective, what we can do, and we really don't have to go through a lot of the learnings that the initial countries had to have? What's your take on that?
So you hit the nail on the head, and I think you are the first person who agrees with what I say. That first mover advantage in a new technology is no advantage, really speaking. We
Sure.
don't have the resources
Yeah.
to get into muddles and then get out of muddles. That part has been taken care of now by the people who moved first, and we have a relatively mature technology now where we are ready to roll out commercially. Having said that, 5G and beyond, 6G, 7G, are going to be in the same category, which is different from 4G and 3G. So the same thing will not apply there. While being second or third in the line for 5G rollout, it will not help us if we think that in 6G also we should be followers rather than leaders. Because the technology is the same. The learning curve there from technology point of view will be much less. What will happen is the businesses and The applications will definitely require a lot of brainstorming. But then every territory, every country has its own environment. The lessons that you learn from deployments in US or Korea may not necessarily apply in India.
Yeah.
Right now, when you talk about the experience of 5G in various countries, I echo your sentiments. I was in Barcelona recently, and when we interacted with the operators there who have rolled out 5G in other territories, their experience is that while they anticipated that the enterprise business will be their mainstay for revenue, it has not really happened at the scale at which they wanted, and they continue to get their revenue from consumer business only, also because mainly because the industry has not come out with the type of requirements that 5G can provide. Right, in India, one advantage, yes, what you're saying, people are not going to pay extra to get into the 5G cloud just for a little bit of extra speed. India is a price sensitive market. There will be a segment who can join those or into gaming, etc. But majority of the people will say, why should I pay extra if I can get same services over 4G? The advantage will be numbers. So the capacity. See, in India, there is a huge population which is not served by mobile connectivity, and our networks in places are overstretched. In other places, the backhauls are not good enough. So with the capacities that 5G will offer for for aggregating customers, we will be able to take on about 100 times the subscribers that a 4G network can take on. So that is where the numbers will increase, and hence it become a viable proposition. But for that, of course, there are problems. The problems are fiberization. We are not fully fiberized. We may not be able to carry backward the aggregated traffic. We require fiberization. We require E and V bands where fiber can't go. So those are the things that we are discussing with the government in addition to the price of spectrum.
Sir, it's fascinating that you spoke about how we can't really learn from the experiences in the US and in Korea, for instance, because they're very different environments. The
Yeah.
scale is very different in India. It also, as a corollary to the earlier question, is the fact that, and this comes up quite a lot when we talk about, rolling out technologies in India. Like, we had the same conversation for 3G, 4G, many other technologies also that, and this term we use called leapfrogging. It's a different way of saying we were late, so we went into 3.5G instead of a 3G because we were late for 3G. But so, do you think that's similar kind of a situation might happen in India also, and in a good sense, because we might morph the technology to suit our problems, solve our problems? Do you think the deployment of 5G in India will be very different from the rest of the world because our problems are very different?
That goes without saying. That goes without saying, right? We are a very huge territory, and we are divided into different grades of difficulty of rolling out networks. There are places where terrestrial networks may not reach at all. There are places which are so dense in urban areas that you can't dig for fiber, so you require fiber in the air, if I may say, call ENV band that by that name.
Yeah.
So those things may be non-existent in other countries, but they are a reality here. But please remember that the Indian mind is a very capable mind, and it finds solutions which in English we call out of the box. In Hindi we call it jugaad. So a lot of solutions come out of the Indian mind which have not been experimented world over. Okay, so those, and then there are compulsions. For example, 5G says that in rural areas we will be able to give so much of coverage using a particular flavor of the standard. In the trials itself, in 4G itself, with little bit of tweaking, some of our OEMs have been able to achieve much more than that. So where we don't require so much of capacity, maybe we can use that combined with the 5G flavor. So these sort of things will happen, and these will be peculiar to Indian territory and territories similar to India. Now, where 5G has been rolled out today are not territories which are quite comparable to the size, scale, and various other parameters which are prevailing in India. and hence we have to sit and find our own solutions. But the primary things remain the same. Backhaul and front haul have to match. Otherwise, there will be a constriction where they both join, right? And that is what we are anticipating, that if the fiberization doesn't happen at the same pace as acquisition of subscribers, then there are going to be problems. This is one area. The second area is security. Now, with millions of subscribers joining in, whether they are humans or sensors, each subscriber is going to be an attack vector. Each sensor is going to be an attack vector. So we cannot protect the networks in the manner we are used to. At this point of time, we do an overlay of security and say we are secure because the subscriber base is known, can be covered. But in times to come, this can't happen. So 5G will have to get a flavor of organically grown cybersecurity, which has the same characteristics as 5G itself. So it can't be static. It has to beat the attacker. You have to be like an attacker. You have to have the same characteristics: adaptability, flexibility. All those things have to be there, which in the current flavor of cybersecurity in 4G era may not be an essential requirement. So yes, things will emerge, but it will emerge as an Indian flavor.
On this, the other thing I wanted to understand is that you have the demand side, and you have a lot of companies maybe are already experiencing 5G in different markets, but you also have a lot of homegrown companies which need to figure out what are the advantages they can derive from this new technology. And there are a lot of companies which can actually accelerate once this technology hits. So is there a need to make them aware? Is that how is that conversation happening? Often you will see great ideas come from their side, but is there also some other conversations that need to sort of handhold them to understand that this is a new technology which can really give you new opportunities?
Yes, but it will be handholding will be the other way around. Possibly the industries will have to say this. Listen, this is our requirement. You
Yeah.
tell us, can you meet it or you can't, right? And given the parameters, the flexibility, the permutation combinations that the telcos will have, more often than not, they will be able to meet all types of requirements that industry requires. And the flavor of using telecom technology for getting benefit has already been seen, although it is in 4G. But the Nokia factory in Chennai has been fully automated. They have removed Wi-Fi. They're using 4G, and with 4G, they've been able to automate their plant. So they do. People like them do understand that if in place of 4G, a lower latency 5G comes in, their efficiency will go up further. So that is the type of dialogues that we keep having, and the telcos and the industry, other industries go together. And clearly, the here itself, there's a case which is strongly emerging, that the telco business itself can be seen in two parts. So, one is providing the wherewithal, the essential wherewithal of networks, of 5G networks, and the second one is exploiting those networks, with the businesses. Now, whether those businesses are our own telco businesses, having the same logo as a parent telco, or they are externals, doesn't matter. But what matters is that the telco companies have to be ready to provide what the customer demands, and not vice versa. And that is possible today with network slicing, with edge computing, with software defined network elements. All those things are now a reality. Earlier it was a science fiction, now it is a reality. Right? There are opportunities and there are challenges. Both of them are there. And there are people who tell us, oh, this is the panacea for all ills. There are people who say that this is useless, but the answer lies somewhere in between. So, as industry progresses, as we go more towards industrialization, production, the requirements, the use cases will come up much, much more. Remember one thing, that industries are still producing. Why do we require 5G? It is because the physical highways have become so congested that getting manpower from one place to another place and getting goods produced from one place to another place is becoming a problem. The digital highways today are free, and they're ever expanding. And if on those digital highways we can have technologies which interconnect production units, which take advantage of one production unit along with another one which is physically far located, then see the efficiencies which come in. Right, human factor gets eliminated almost to a negligible level. The human mind can never be eliminated fully, but yes, the repetitive tasks
Yeah.
will go into 5G, and they will be able to do sensing and processing of data, maybe at the edge, maybe at the central level, but they will be able to meet the requirements of the client, whoever it is.
So one last question before we wind up. As a technologist, which is the one area where, or which excites you the most to see 5G rollout? And in a country like India, where do you think the biggest impact is going to happen, or what excites you most about the impact?
Any technology for that matter must benefit the masses.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you're going to benefit only one segment of the country, it is pointless. So I feel that today the biggest bane is employment. And
Mhm.
if 5G with all its offerings can improve employment not only in the telecom space, but also in spaces which ride on 5G. That is something which will be, I would be looking forward to. Now, this, if you dig down deeply, encompasses education, it encompasses medicine, it encompasses agriculture, it encompasses almost everything.
Thank you, sir, for being on the show. That was Lieutenant General Kochhar of COI. Thanks a lot, sir. Very insightful. And again, this is something that has had a lot of curiosity in people's minds. There is a lot of rumors and other things around about how it will roll out, what will come. I even heard people saying that, okay, you will be able to make faster calls. But that's not how 5G is going to
That is
finally
not,
roll
yeah.
out. Sir, thanks a lot for giving us the insight.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nandu, for having me on the show.
Yeah, thank you. You were listening to Our Own Devices. We'll be back again next week with another guest.